This is Christopher Sernaque, hosting episode 4 of season 1 of the Current Topics in Science podcast. This podcast will address breaking scientific news in light of the origins debate and host interviews with scientists. This podcast is available on the following platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Video recordings of this podcast will be uploaded to YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Let's take a look at the human eye. According to WebMD, the human eye is able to see because light reflects off an object, and if that object is in your field of vision, it enters the eye. End quote. As we can see, light and sight go hand in hand for our ability to see. However, there's one organism that is actually having trouble seeing clearly because of too much light. Reuters published an article entitled "Fireflies Threaten Globally with Light Pollution a Glaring Problem." According to Reuters, humankind's ubiquitous nighttime artificial light that plays havoc with their battelic nocturnal courtship. End quote. The Reuters article went on to state that 2,000 plus firefly species may face extinction threats while others are doing just fine. End quote. We humans might not see light pollution as a problem. However, it does pose a problem for fireflies. Fireflies are beetles that have specialized light-emitting organs on their lower abdomen, called lanterns. A male firefly uses its lantern when courting female fireflies. This is where the light pollution problem comes in. According to Sarah Lewis of Tufts University, light pollution affects lots of nocturnal creatures, but fireflies are especially susceptible to this particular threat. Fireflies rely on bioluminescent courtship signals to find their mates. When their nighttime environment is too bright, it's difficult for them to see one another's signals, so they never get to hook up. End quote. According to the International Dark Sky Association, one way to help combat light pollution is to turn off unnecessary indoor lighting, particularly in empty office buildings at night. Aside from reducing the light pollution problems for fireflies, human designers have also found ways to learn from the design features in fireflies. The light of a firefly is produced by a chemical called luciferin in cells called photocytes, along with an enzyme called luciferase, magnesium, oxygen, and ATP. There are 3 different layers of light transmission in a firefly. These layers are the cuticle or window layer, the photogenic or light-producing layer, and the dorsal layer. Once the photogenic layer sends out light, the light either directly passes through the cuticle or reflects off the dorsal layer. This finely tuned structure is called a dielectric mirror and is acutely reflective. Furthermore, the cuticles on firefly lanterns effectively control and minimize the loss of light through reflection when passing through boundaries of different materials. Researchers at the Biophontics Lab of the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology have duplicated this structure for an LED lens. The researchers report this biological inspiration can offer new opportunities for increasing the light extraction efficiency of high-powered LED packages. End quote. It's amazing how biological inspiration confirms the accuracy of the Bible's inspiration. God in Genesis 1:24 is said to be the designer of the insects, and that would include fireflies. It's amazing to look at how dedicated research in the design structures of LED lights is based off of the blueprints that God drafted himself. Thank you very much for taking the time to learn with us on Current Topics in Science, where scientific discoveries are examined in light of the origins issue. Please share and subscribe to the Current Topics in Science podcast. It is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thanks again for listening, and remember, the truth saves.